everybody. Jason Howard here, School Board Vice President, with another Lone Star governance update. Today, we're going to be looking at our our goal number one, which is the percentage of third grade students scoring meets grade level or above on the STAAR reading test will increase from 44% in September 2023 to 60% by August 2028. So over the next few months, we're going to be looking at each of our goals as they're presented to the school board during open session. Why each of them matter to the success of our students, and how our educators build upon these skills to empower our students to achieve success. So with that being said, I'd like to thank our elementary school principal, Ms. Tricia Forrester, and third grade reading teacher, correct?
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade. Oh, fourth grade. Fourth grade reading teacher, Ms. Julie Frankie. They're going to be joining me today to discuss how it looks like our implementation looks like on the elementary campus. So with that being said, first off, ladies, thank you very much for joining me today.
We're excited to be here.
All right. So what makes reading in the elementary school so important that it is the first and primary goal of the school board? And why third grade?
Yeah, so House Bill 3, which we would reference pretty commonly in elementary as HB3, aims to improve reading proficiency for students in kindergarten through grade 3. And so third grade, especially because that is that first STAAR state assessment, but reading is the foundation for everything that we do. Anything on reading, Ms. Frankie?
No, I would agree. I mean, if they struggle in reading, they're going to struggle in math, they're going to struggle in science, they're going to struggle in social studies.
So with the big goal being focused on third grade, are we only focused on third grade? And if not, kind of go through the process of how we build to third grade.
Sure. So we are part of Lone Star Governance, and of course, goal one, percentage of third grade students scoring meets grade level or above on STAAR reading. And so I'm actually glad Ms. Frankie is here with me because yes, she's a fourth grade reading teacher. And so we are promoting literacy K-5. Like this is huge for us for all students. And so as we kind of talk about what literacy looks like, we do report and track progress on all of our students. So kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth, and fifth. Third grade is just that baseline for our STAAR state assessment.
So if they can meet that target in third grade, then you can see how it ripples effect to fourth grade and the growth that you'll see in fourth and the growth that you'll see in fifth. So having the starting point at third grade is a good way to get us to meet that goal.
Okay, so do we just jump in and go all in at third grade, or do we are we building it from pre-K, kinder up?
So well, with LSG, we're really focused on systems and processes. So like I say, and I talk about in our school board meeting, it's all the magic that happens in between. So we're focused on literacy across the board for all classrooms, all students. But we are starting to pinpoint where our students are academically from when they walk in the doors at BOY for any grade level. And that's our starting point to start determining how we set goals for students. What are measurable goals? What does our growth look like for next year? What does our growth look like for middle of the year, for EOY, end of year?
So how does the team determine a student's current success in reading, and how do they use that information to help the students become more successful?
Sure. Ms. Frankie, do you want to give maybe an example of like an oral reading fluency and what that goal could look like?
Okay, so when we give a fluency check, then we can take that information and we can group kids based off their needs and target that in like win time or in small group during class time. To add on to that.
Yeah, so when we look at that and say, okay, our goal is to, for a third grade student, let's say to read 90 words per minute by the end of the year. And right now we're reading at 50 words per minute. So that looks like teacher and student working together. Our goal for the next few months is to build that fluency and work on fluency. And our goal is to get to 75 in the next few months that we meet. And so when we do meet, we're going to be working on fluency. I was actually in Ms. Frankie's room today, and she was conferencing with students and talking about what their goal is and building accuracy. So it's a very fluid process, and it happens so regularly that students are working through their goals. And then we do that check-in at middle of the year. How are students progressing? What does this look like for our intervention time? And how do we continue to grow them once we do hit that goal? Because we're not done yet, right?
So what kind of training do our educators go through to equip themselves to better understand the data and how to use that data?
Well, we in PLT meetings every week, we look at data, whether it's a test, and we talk about what, maybe the kids answered incorrectly. Like you can determine, oh, all the kids answered B, but it was incorrect. So get into their mindset of why did they answer that? And you can build off of that in your lessons or reviewing that assignment. The other things in beginning of the year, before kids even get to us, we will all sit down and we have trainings on M-Class, which is the screeners that we use. How do we analyze that data? How do we get into the system so that everybody's ready to go for the school year?
Okay. And for parents who are watching this who may not be familiar with a PLT, can you explain to me what a can you explain to them what a PLT is?
Sure. So we kind of use it interchangeably with a PLC, which is a professional learning community. So our teams come together every week to work together to internalize upcoming lessons, disaggregate data. Let's look at data. How did they do on that? Why did they pick B? When are we going to go back and reteach this if everyone struggled with picking B? So that's a sacred, dedicated time where we go in and really work on adult learning to support student learning.
So you mentioned some tools that y'all currently use. So what's an example of what would an assessment look like for a kid that y'all would use to help determine where they're at and what they need to be focused on?
Yep. So for reading, kinder and first look different than what second through fifth grade would look like. So a kinder and first grade assessment would be one-to-one, where student is facing teacher and the teacher's asking questions. Maybe there's many components to it, but for example, maybe rapid letter naming. So they're expected to, name letters as quickly as possible within that 60-second parameter, in addition to other forms of assessment. So kinder and first is more one-to-one, face-to-face, and then second through fifth have separate components, which Ms. Frankie can talk through.
So starting in third grade, they generally have just your fluency, which we target fluency, which we can also record their accuracy, how well they're reading. So just because they read really fast and have lots of words per minute, it doesn't mean their accuracy is very well, which hinders then their comprehension. So we can look at fluency, accuracy, and comprehension. And then it also gives us an overall score, just kind of put them in the criteria of that program. We do the universal screener on everyone, and that's not just the only thing we look at, but it does help get a starting point of who needs to target reading groups for accuracy, fluency, or who can read really well and who can read accurately, but they're not retaining what they're reading, and they can't recall what they read. So that would be working with them on comprehension. We also look at iExcel. That's the online program that is used during wind time. I know for third, fourth, and fifth. And so that is an individual based program for each student. So at the beginning of the year, they'll take a diagnostic test and it targets the areas that it needs for that student based off their score. And then every week they work on recommendation skills for their individual needs. And so as we give a screener in the middle of the year, it will track their growth. So if they're working on their recommendations and their growth and they're mastering those skills, it'll show growth. And if they're flatlining, then we need to say, what are we doing? What are they working on the right skills? What is their other needs? So that is two really good baselines and points of data that we use. And then of course, all of your daily work, your assessments, teacher just observations as well.
So what happens if you do have a student who is struggling with a certain concept and they just can't grasp it? What are some things that our educators, our support staff are doing to help get that student caught back up?
So, it's going to vary between each classroom, each grade level. For myself, if a student is struggling on a certain part, I can pull them either right before school starts. We have that time period between 7:35, 8 o'clock before we really start class time. Can pull them then. We can have them target on a certain win group to really work on that skill, send extra assignments home that by teacher discretion, if that would be helpful for that child. Just really target their need the best we can.
Everyone's always so focused on the STAAR test and we're just teaching to the test. We're just teaching to the test. Are these skills that we're teaching the students through, like our LSG models and the way we're going about this? Is this just to ace this test, or are these skills that they're going to be using in all areas of studies across their life?
Right. So, kind of like we talk about for our goal progress measures, our GPMs, we report on those for kinder, first, and second. And while we're working through the time component of those assessments, they're all applicable and necessary skills. It is very important for a student to be able to fluently read, maybe not within that 1 minute timer, right? But still be able to fluently and comfortably read and also to comprehend that text. So this goes way beyond, yes, the third grade STAAR test or yes, the fourth grade STAAR test. I mean, these skills are needed to infer make a basic comprehension. What is the main idea of this text? And just be able to overall grasp, right, for when they do leave to secondary and even beyond that, to be able to take anything and comprehend that.
So what are some other ways that our school, our educators, our campus, our elementary school is helping to increase reading engagement within our student population? And what are some ways students can work on these reading skills, maybe outside the classroom, when they're not in front of a teacher?
So one of the biggest things I always tell the parents in parent conferences is when they always ask, how can I help my child in reading? And I always just tell them, read with your child, especially if a child is struggling to read. A kid that hears the words and are following along with somebody that is a fluent reader is way more beneficial than a lot of parents think. They always just want the parents, they always just think the kids need to go read by themselves. Well, if they're struggling, they're going to be continue to struggle because they're not getting that correction. So having them correct the child when they read, but then as they become more independent readers, if the parent has an idea of what the text is about, then always ask about, what did you read? Retell me what you read, and make that child start thinking for that comprehension. And then not just read books, read a magazine, read a newspaper, even reading instructions on a video game. Sometimes I tell them, like, everything has words in our world. So it's, you can engage them however they choose. And then we in class, like in fourth grade, we had we read Treasure Island as one of our curriculum books, and so we had a pirate day. So it's just engaging them and bringing life to the story, I guess. And so the kids got to dress up as pirates, and we talked like pirates, and it was fun. So
and it's great. So with our reading curriculum with Amplify, they have built in with the curriculum something called a culminating event. So at the end of this whole unit, what is this about? And so kindergarten fairy tales, we had a tea party for kindergarten. It was really great. We invited parents to come. And so this is just a great opportunity to kind of bring that literacy to life and really see it come together and them have more ownership in that.
Well, looking at our current data, where do you currently see our students rate on progress? Are we behind the ball? Are we on track? Are we exceeding and going above expectations? Where do you see us currently sitting middle of the year before the big assessments?
Sure. So, something that's really important to take into consideration as well, for parents watching, our LSG goal might sound low to get to 60% by August of 2028. We're talking about meeting and mastering grade level standards. So common misconception is approaching grade level standards, and that used to be the baseline, but now we're talking about meeting and mastering. So I definitely want to start with that. So as we kind of look at our GPMs and goal progress measures and our reportable where we're at middle of year, we are on track to meet our goal for end of year, which right now is at 57%. So our goal is 57% of kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and reading and math, to be meeting and mastering grade level standards. We are on target to meet that goal. And some of our grade levels have even already exceeded that goal.
Is there anything that I've left out that might be beneficial to, I guess, let parents know or anybody who's watching know about what we're doing with our goal progress measure, or our goal 1 and our GPMs?
No, I think with being in year 3 of implementation for Lone Star governance, we definitely can see a collaborative culture within our campus of, a shared ownership in reading, and really taking that, looking at our goals. We're very intentional with our goals. We talk about our goals before we come together every PLC, talk about our mission and vision, like this is where we're going. We want to grow to help our kids grow. And so I think that this has been a big game changer for us, and definitely been very impactful, very intentional.
Well, Ms. Forrester, Ms. Frankie, I thank you so much for taking the time out to visit with us today, or visit with me today. And I'm sure, Ms. Forrester, you'll be back next week or next month when we talk about goal progress 2 and third grade math. So again, thank y'all very much for joining me today.
Thank you.